Some things Japan does are so thoughtful and considered that the moment you see them, you wonder why they don't exist everywhere else. Market streets so dedicated to local food that every single stall sells something made from the region's finest ingredients and nothing else. Overnight buses where instead of a seat, you get a fully enclosed shell-shaped pod that makes falling asleep on a bus genuinely comfortable. And restaurants where your food is served by floating it down a small river stream directly to your table. Japan doesn't just do things differently. It does them so well that once you've seen the Japanese version, going back to the old way feels like a step backwards. Today, we're counting down 15 things in Japan that need to exist everywhere. Watch until the end because number 15, a gym that also does your laundry, whitens your teeth, and lets you sing karaoke between sets, is one of those ideas that sounds completely made up until you actually see it in action. Number 1. Nishiki Market-style local food streets. Nishiki Market in Kyoto is a narrow covered shopping street stretching 400 meters and lined on both sides with over 100 small shops and stalls selling fresh seafood, pickled vegetables, tofu, street food, regional sweets, and local specialties that reflect the specific culinary identity of Kyoto, rather than a generic selection of Japanese food. Every stall sells something specific. The vendor selling pickled vegetables has been doing it for generations. The tofu shop makes its product fresh daily. The street food stalls cook to order from counters barely wide enough for one person to work behind. You walk slowly, eat from stalls as you go, and leave having tasted things that exist only in this specific street, in this specific city. Japan built a food street around total dedication to local identity and produced one of the most genuinely irreplaceable dining experiences in the world. Number 2. Pod-style overnight sleeping bus. Japan's overnight buses operate shell-shaped pod seats that fully enclose each passenger in a private cream-colored sleeping shell, with a contoured headrest, a cushioned flat sleeping surface, side panels that block the view from neighboring seats, and enough enclosed space that the person next to you essentially disappears for the duration of the journey. The pods face slightly inward from both sides of the aisle, each one numbered and self-contained. You settle in, the shell wraps around you, and the bus moves through the night while you sleep in something that looks far closer to a first-class airline seat than anything a bus has any right to offer. The cost is a fraction of a hotel room and a Shinkansen ticket combined. The time spent traveling becomes time spent sleeping, rather than time spent surviving a seat that reclines into the knees of the person behind you. Japan looked at overnight travel and decided the journey itself should be worth taking. Number 3. Rainwater channels built into sidewalks. Japan builds narrow drainage channels into the edges and surface of pavements and pedestrian streets that collect and redirect rainwater away from the walking surface immediately as it falls, preventing the puddle accumulation that makes walking in rain an exercise in wet shoe avoidance in most other countries. The channels run along the pavement edge beneath gutter lines and across the surface at intervals calculated to intercept water before it pools. They are built into the pavement infrastructure during construction rather than added as a surface modification after the fact. The result is a pavement that drains during rain rather than after it. You walk through a downpour in Japan and the surface beneath your feet is wet but not pooled, navigable without looking down, and clear of the standing water that soaks shoes at every step in cities without the same drainage design. Japan built the rain out of the walking experience by designing the pavement to handle it as it arrives. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and tap like. It tells YouTube you want more of Japan's clever everyday innovations. And if you love discovering things you didn't even know existed, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones are even smarter. Number 4. Mochi ice cream. Mochi ice cream is a Japanese confection where a ball of ice cream is wrapped in a thin layer of soft pounded rice cake, producing a single bite-sized piece that combines the cold creaminess of ice cream with the chewy yielding texture of mochi in a combination that neither ingredient produces alone. The contrast is the point. The mochi softens slightly from the cold of the ice cream inside. The ice cream stays firm inside the insulating rice cake layer. You bite through the chew into the cold, and the two textures arrive simultaneously. Flavors cover the full range of Japanese ice cream, including matcha, red bean, strawberry, and black sesame, alongside standard varieties, each one wrapped in a mochi layer that may be plain, flavored, or dusted with starch to prevent sticking. Japan combined two existing things in a way that made both of them better and produced a format so satisfying it spread to ice cream menus worldwide. Number 5. My Only Fragrance Custom Perfume Shop. Japan's My Only Fragrance shops allow customers to create a completely personalized cologne or perfume by selecting from a range of fragrance notes across top, middle, and base categories, and combining them in proportions guided by a staff member trained in fragrance composition, with the finished blend mixed and bottled in store while you wait. You don't choose from a catalog of existing scents, you build a new one. The consultation process identifies the scent profile you're drawn to, suggests combinations that work within that profile, and produces something that exists only because you designed it in that session. The bottle is labeled with your blend formula so it can be reproduced exactly if you want more. The price is comparable to a mid-range commercial fragrance. Japan made bespoke perfumery accessible at a price point that removes it from the luxury category and turned a personal scent into something anyone can create rather than simply select. Number 6. Hinadoriyama Floating River Restaurant. Hinadoriyama is a Japanese restaurant where dishes are served by placing them onto small wooden boats or platforms that float down a narrow water channel running through the dining room, delivering food from the kitchen to each table via a miniature river that runs the full length of the space. You watch your order float toward you, lift it from the boat as it arrives at your position along the channel, and eat while the stream continues moving beside you. The format is gentle enough that nothing spills and specific enough that each delivery reaches the correct table. The experience turns a meal into something participatory. The food is traditional Japanese cuisine served at a standard that would justify a visit without the river. The river makes it a destination experience that no other restaurant format replicates. Japan built a dining concept around the pleasure of watching your food arrive in the most unhurried and visually pleasing way possible. Number 7. iPhone shutter sound cannot be disabled. Japan legally requires iPhones sold in the domestic market to produce an audible shutter sound every time a photo is taken, with no option in the settings to mute or disable it, as a deliberate privacy protection measure in a country where covert photography in public spaces had become a documented social problem. The law applies to all smartphones sold in Japan regardless of manufacturer. The sound cannot be suppressed by switching the phone to silent mode. It activates every time the shutter is used. The practical effect is that taking a photograph in Japan is always a declared action. Anyone nearby knows a photo has been taken. The social deterrent to covert photography is built into the hardware, rather than left to social norms to manage. Japan decided that the right to take a photograph quietly was less important than the right of the people around you to know they were being photographed, and made that decision at the level of the operating system. Number 8. Chocolate bread. Japan produces chocolate bread, known as chocolate coronet or choco pan, in several distinct formats ranging from a soft, enriched dough, twisted into a horn shape and filled with chocolate cream, to flat shakupan-style loaves with chocolate swirled through the crumb, available fresh daily at every bakery and convenience store. The chocolate is integrated into the bread, rather than spread onto it afterward. In the swirl version, it runs through the entire loaf, so every slice carries the flavor throughout, rather than as a surface layer. In the filled version, the chocolate cream is piped directly into the center of the spiral, so the filling-to-bread ratio is consistent from the first bite to the last. It functions as breakfast, a snack, or a dessert depending on how you encounter it. Japan treats bread as a canvas worthy of genuine culinary attention, and the chocolate version is one of the most consistently satisfying results of that approach. Number 9. Convenience stores restocking fresh food all day. Japanese convenience stores operate a continuous fresh food restocking cycle throughout the day, with new deliveries of prepared sandwiches, onigiri, bento boxes, salads, and hot counter items arriving multiple times between opening and closing, to ensure that the product on the shelf at any hour reflects the freshness standard of a store that opened 30 minutes ago, rather than one that restocked this morning and hasn't touched the shelves since. The restocking schedule is demand-driven. Peak hours receive more frequent deliveries. Items approaching their sell-by window are marked down and cleared before the next delivery replaces them. The result is a retail environment where buying prepared food at 9 at night produces the same confidence and freshness as buying it at 9 in the morning. Japan treated convenience store food freshness as a logistics problem with an operational solution, and built a supply chain around maintaining a standard, rather than accepting the natural decline that a single daily restock produces. Number 10. Grape gummy candies. Japan produces grape-flavored gummy candies using Kyoho grape extract, a large, dark variety with an intense sweetness and depth of flavor that produces a gummy with a genuinely grape-like taste, rather than the artificial grape flavoring that most other countries use as the baseline for grape confectionery. The difference is immediately apparent. A Kyoho grape gummy tastes like a concentrated version of the actual fruit, rather than a laboratory approximation of what grape flavor is supposed to suggest. The sweetness is balanced by the natural tannin character of the grape variety, and the texture is softer and more yielding than most Western gummies. Japan's Haichu and other brands using real fruit juice and extract, rather than artificial flavoring, have developed international following specifically because the flavor accuracy is higher than anything produced from synthetic compounds. Japan made a gummy that tastes like the fruit it's named after, and the rest of the world's grape candy stopped tasting right by comparison. Number 11. Lipton tea bath salts and Pringles batch chips. Japan's licensed novelty product culture produces officially branded items that apply well-known food and beverage brands to entirely different product categories, with Lipton tea-scented bath salts that dissolve into a tea-colored bath, and Pringles batch chips and flavors developed exclusively for the Japanese market among the most widely discussed examples. The Lipton bath salts are a genuine cosmetic product using tea extracts in a format that makes a brand associated entirely with drinking into a bathing experience. The Pringles collaborations include regional Japanese flavors and seasonal varieties that treat the global snack brand as a platform for local food culture rather than a fixed product. Both exist because Japan's consumer market treats brand collaboration and product category crossover as a legitimate creative exercise rather than a dilution of brand identity. Japan turned a tea brand into a bath product and a crisp brand into a regional food exploration and made both things feel completely reasonable. Number 12. Dragon Ball Cheesecake. Japan produces officially licensed Dragon Ball Z cheesecakes, decorated with the imagery, characters, and iconic visual elements of the anime series. Sold as premium gift items through specialist confectionery retailers and online stores that treat the decorated cheesecake as a collectible food product rather than simply a novelty. The decoration is applied with precision that reflects the actual character design rather than a loose approximation. Son Goku, Vegeta, and the Dragon Shenron appear on surfaces decorated to a standard that makes the cheesecake visually accurate enough to function as a piece of merchandise, regardless of the fact that it's also a dessert. The cheesecake itself is made to the quality standard that Japanese confectionery applies across the board. The decoration is the addition. The product underneath it is genuinely good. Japan treats licensed food collaboration as an opportunity to produce something worth eating and displaying, rather than a marketing exercise that sacrifices quality for recognizability. Number 13. Oreo Churros. Japan produces Oreo Churros, fried dough sticks made with Oreo cookie crumbs, incorporated into the churro dough, and dusted with a powdered Oreo coating on the outside, combining two globally recognized products into a single street food item that tastes like both simultaneously. The combination works because the chocolate bitterness of the Oreo complements the fried dough base rather than competing with it. The churro provides the crunch and warmth. The Oreo provides the flavor and the color. The result is darker than a standard churro, sweeter, and more complex in flavor than either product delivers alone. They are sold at theme parks, tourist districts, and specialist street food vendors throughout Japan as a limited or seasonal item that generates cues disproportionate to its simplicity. Japan took two things that already existed everywhere and combined them in a direction nobody had tried, then made the result available on a stick for a few hundred yen. Number 14. Taiyaki fish-shaped waffles. Taiyaki are Japanese street food waffles pressed and cooked in a fish-shaped iron mold filled with sweet red bean paste, custard, chocolate, or sweet potato, and served hot from the press with a crispy exterior and a soft, warm filling that runs from head to tail of the fish shape. The fish shape is traditional and has remained unchanged since taiyaki were first sold in the early 20th century. The iron mold produces a specific thickness of batter to filling ratio that makes the texture consistent and the eating experience the same whether you start from the head or the tail. Modern versions expand the filling range significantly while keeping the shape. Matcha custard, Nutella, cheese, seasonal flavors tied to local ingredients appear at specialist stalls. Japan created a street food format so perfectly executed that it has remained essentially unchanged for over a century because nothing about it needed fixing. Number 15. Multi-purpose gyms with laundry and karaoke. Japan operates gym facilities that combine standard fitness equipment with additional amenity services including coin-operated laundry machines, teeth whitening booths, karaoke rooms, tanning beds, and relaxation areas in a single membership that covers access to all of them. The logic is straightforward. Gym visits already occupy a significant block of time. Adding services that would otherwise require a separate trip to a separate location turns the gym into a one-stop facility that handles multiple errands in the time you were already spending there. You finish your workout, put your gym clothes in the laundry, do a karaoke session while they wash, collect them dry, and leave having completed 3 things in the time a standard gym visit takes. Japan looked at the hours people spend at gyms and asked what else could happen in that time, then built the infrastructure to answer the question. If you want to see more amazing things Japan is doing better than the rest of the world, then like and subscribe. And make sure to watch the video on your end screen. It's packed with even more things that need to exist everywhere.